this is a character design for Flash animation. So it's just going to be kind of a rundown of what I do. This doesn't mean that it's like across the board, this is what you must do. This is what I found works best and very tailored to Powerhouse. And this is also tailored to puppet animation, not just, you know, traditional, keeping it simple for the kind of work that we get in. But, so these are my basic principles. I like to start off with the preliminary things to do before you even start drawing. There's a lot to think about and consider, and to make sure that you're not designing the wrong character for the project that you're assigned. So first what I think of is what medium is the character for? What kind of thing is this character going to be in? So is it a game? Is it a commercial? Is it a cinematic? Website? Each one, you know, you want to approach differently. And so, for example, for a game, I mean, that opens it up to even more subcategories. Is it isometric? Is it platform? Does it need an avatar? And so I have this example of this character that's on your handout. With avatars and other things that I'm going to cover, is kind of thinking smart as you design, because not just thinking, oh, it's just a good drawing, and not thinking of how it's going to go into the pipeline. And so with an avatar, you know, make things easier on the programmer, on the animator. And so I like to think of, you know, designing a body shape and outfit that will work for both sexes, and, you know, just really minor details that you can add to, you know, make the differences, but think smart when you design. So in this case, it's same body, you just change the colors. I've added some eyelashes and a ponytail, you know, boy, girl. Really simple. And it just makes it easier further down the pipeline. And because if anyone here knows, avatars can be very complicated and be kind of annoying, so you just want to think smart. And so this is just one of the examples that I did. Another question you want to consider is who is this project for? I mean, a design for a kid is going to be different than maybe one that you would design targeted at a senior citizen. So that's another question. This was obviously kind of for kids. It's a little upbeat, kind of energetic, and then you want to ask, like, who is this character? Is he selling anything? Is he describing anything? Is he a main character, a side character, background character? Again, this kind of goes into the economy of design. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time to design here, and so you kind of have to think quickly and efficiently. And this is one of those instances. If it's a side character, you don't want to spend as much time on it as a main character. That's where you want to put most of your effort. And or if it's a character that's just going to pop up in the scene. I mean, you just want to kind of quickly hash that out. And like I said, hopefully the client will give a brief description of the character, so you'll have some backstory, that kind of thing. And you know, emotionally, are they young, old, happy, sad, smart, dumb? I mean, that affects design as well. And so try to give the audience clues to who the character is through design. You know, they want to look at it and you go, that's a happy guy, or that guy, you know, is sad, which is why he needs this product. You know, that kind of thing. And I can't stress enough reference material. One, the kind of reference material that the clients give us, from scripts, storyboards, conceptual briefs. Oftentimes they'll give us enough information to start, and even suggestions that you don't want to miss. And then this is, you know, your own personal research, you know, whether it's from a book, an image search, YouTube, you know, make sure you get inspired by something. And for me, I have, you know, around this office, I mean, there's just a plethora of inspirational books. You know, people all have their own artists that they like. Go to them, you know. You like that person, you know, it'll be fun to draw, you know, in a similar style. And also, if you're designing a specific thing or a character, like a firefighter, do an image search on a firefighter and not just copy, you know, like someone else's cartoon or interpretation of that. Kind of go to the source, and that'll reflect well in your design as you adapt it and simplify it. So, and now that you've gone through and asked these questions of yourself, we can finally go and start implementing them in whatever program you're using. And we use Flash here, so it's typically what I go in. I think I put these in the wrong order. But anyway, this is, I pretty much kind of did my own research on this topic for just some simplified instructions, and I found this nice site where Doug Bennett, a Disney artist, kind of just goes over the really basics of character design. A lot of it starts with just basic shapes. You know, obviously this isn't Flash animation, it's traditional, but it's the principle that I'm, you know, trying to explain. Reducing characters to their basic shapes, and you know, kind of what do these shapes mean to you? A lot of times curves are more comfortable, they're pleasant to look at. Angles can kind of be authority, or you know, a definite contrast to the nice curves of kind of main characters. But it's a great way to start, just kind of geometric, and especially with Flash, reducing things to really simple shapes. And appealing shapes, you know, don't forget your appeal. You know, keeping it simple, again, makes it easier to pass on the pipeline and make sure that all the artists that are going to be animating this will have an easier time of making new arms and, you know, drawing this design and putting it into animation. It's also important to think of what the character's going to do in the story. Hopefully you have kind of an idea of what's going to happen, or if animatic exists, but sometimes it doesn't. But if you do know, you know, can he be able to reach up, take off his hat? Can he bend over and reach anything that he needs to? I had a similar situation with this guy. Unfortunately, we didn't have all the story planned out when we did the design, and so this scene called for a character to have mistletoe above his head, but his arms could not reach above his head. The design just didn't work for it. And so, you know, we have to come up, that just made me as the animator had to come up with a way to get the mistletoe above his head, because no matter what way I drew that arm, it did not look right above that head. And, you know, this was no one's fault, but it's just an example of kind of how you need to think about, if you're able to, where this drawing is going to go. Just because it's a good drawing doesn't mean it's a good design for the project that it's for. There's other things to consider are silhouette, which is also a basic principle of animation. I mean, making that pose a good silhouette and readable works well for your design. You know, don't pose your character where the majority of the pose is happening inside his body. You want every part of the element to read, and please avoid tangents, like a collar hitting with her neck, and the arm is posed and it's hitting a point on the neck with the buttons, that kind of thing. And just pay attention to your tangents. And the next images that I have examples for are examples of straights versus curves. It's equally about posing, but using straight creates tension and curved is rhythm, and so it's nice to have a variety of flow and rhythm in your design. And so this is some designs by Balistrari. You know, you've got these great straights and curves, straights and curves. It's just a really great element that brings some nice flow into your drawing, and you see it pop up everywhere. This is Steven Silver, and these are human characters, but again, you can kind of see it reduced to the basic shapes, and these are kind of the things where the basic shape is the entire body of the character almost. But it's the same principle of these straights versus curves, and you know, mainly focusing on this guy of Shane Prigmore's. You know, we just got this nice flow. And you know, this guy would be perfect for Flash animation, the kind of stuff that we do. And this is, I mean, the reason a lot of this stuff works is because it exists in real life. And this is an observation by character designer Andrew Sheck. And just showing in animals, he's very specific to animal design. And you know, it's in nature, so it's not like we're just making stuff up that we think looks good. I mean, it exists. The next thing I'd say is to kind of, once you're getting the basics, you know, play with proportion. A lot of times you can make things more dynamic by just adjusting proportions. You can have good drawing and then be like, well, what happens if I make his head a little bit bigger and a little bit like taller than his torso? Kind of just makes things, especially the cartoony stuff that we do in Flash. You know, drawings where the head, torso, and leg length are the same come off as really boring. You know, have some fun. And then I just use the Preston Blair, how proportions affect also age, and you know, can show who the character is at a glance. I mean, cute characters, this is a young child, and he explains why proportions show who this character is. You know, large forehead, the features are centered and close together, small ears, and I mean, and even for us, you can even push that proportion more if you wanted to make it even more flashy and cute. But and basically, all I have left is this Flash. This is a little sketch of a design that I started with. And so this is like first pass, you know. This is just a sketch. In this drawing, you know, you can see basic squarish shape. I've got my straight and curves, but he's just kind of boring to me. I think I could push it a little more. And so what I do is, and so like I said before, his head is the same length as his body. And, you know, that's just kind of boring to start out with. So what I did was pushed it. So I made his head larger, his torso smaller, kind of made this a little bit more prevalent. And I guess I should say this design was for a platform game. And so I put him in the pose that he would be running in. And everything's readable. Next step was straights versus curves and rhythm and flow. And so there's a curve into a straight, curve, straight into a curve. Doesn't necessarily mean everything has to be a straight going into curve. You also want variety, patterns, parallels. These arms create some nice parallels. You know, it's just pleasing to the eye. And then also I made sure that it was it worked as a silhouette, which is kind of obvious when you look at it. But that's basically it. I included some links. Definitely visit the character design blog. There's a huge range of just people going over and they're saying basically the same principles. You know, start with shape, move on to variety, straights and curves, and then any other suggestions. And I know you guys know your own. The Rad How-To will break down these characters into their really geometric shapes and in volume. And other people are character designers, and I found that like people like Toby Shelton, if you follow storyboard artists, they are perfect at communicating the most with very little. And so they are a great reference for design and readability. And so if you know any of those, you know, and share them. I mean, I think the best part is kind of getting newly inspired by people. Was there any questions? I know this is really short. I'm just trying to get everyone back to work. But yeah, like I said, this was for Flash and very specific to Powerhouse. It's mostly just be smart, think about where this drawing is going, how complicated this character has to be. You know, please don't make anything complicated for the next person that has to take your drawing and work with it. You know, and you know, talk to people. Like, is this? Sometimes you need to be told what's working and what's not. So, yeah, that's basically it. Anything? Yes, I got this quick.